Hello everybody, welcome on in. I hope you are all well. Today I've got a very long 1vx fight for you guys. I've been playing a ton of the Firestaff Rapier. Honestly, this is my favorite weapon combo in the game just because of the mobility and utility that this weapon combo provides, and the absolutely disgusting burst from the Rapier. I think it just makes a perfect build for open world gameplay that doesn't have any real glaring weakness and does a good job keeping itself alive even when pretty heavily outnumbered. I love this build because if I make the right decisions, it can be incredibly rewarding to play and very frustrating for my opponents to deal with. Of course, if you guys want to check out the build that I'm using in this video, there's a link to it down in the description below, and I will be updating the build very soon for everyone. Don't you worry about it. Now, let's get right into this PvP commentary. So, as you guys can see, I ran into a few purple players right outside the entrance to this keep or outpost here, and they started chasing after me, and I quickly went for a retreat to the rocks, trying to get myself a little bit of cover. Unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with the terrain on this side of this keep, and I didn't realize how poor cover it would be. Find myself getting blasted really hard by the enemy Firestaff and Lifestaff players. So I used the speed from the Rapier and the Firestaff just to close distance quickly to the inside of the keep, and the enemy players follow me in here. I start by throwing down the fireball, trying to get a little bit of damage, but these guys go very aggressive. I managed to catch a good riposte and then right away go into my burnout. The hammer player actually going for a big stun there, but thanks to the unstoppable from riposte, we're able to ignore the stun status and safely make the burnout. And then I turn around, throw the fireball on them, try to do a little bit of damage to them while they're at the doorway there. Unfortunately, the hammer player's coming pretty close. I try to go for the burnout again, but that was a pretty bad call. The hammer player does manage to land a nice flush stun, but I get to the Rapier in time to catch the riposte on the second stun and manage to get myself out of that situation. The hammer player switch into his sword and board, trying to stay on top of me here, use a little bit of an evade dance, go for the riposte, catching it on the NPC, and then flesh through to get great backstab damage on that enemy healer. He was very squishy, so we take him down with a few really big crits there. And I continue to apply pressure with the Firestaff and kite out using the burnout. Fighting against an enemy melee fighter like the hammer and sword and board player there is not so bad for this build. We can kite them pretty hard, and as you guys can see, I just quickly shift focus to the enemy mage here, managed to find him with his stamina down and put a big combo in while he's susceptible, and the enemy healer has come back. He's just around the corner there, and the hammer player on the other side now, and I just keep applying pressure with the Firestaff. Go for a burnout through the enemy healer. He quickly heals up. Throw a few more dots on him. Try to get that damage with the Rapier. Drop his health very, very close. But another purple player enters the fight, hitting me from behind with the hatchet gap close, getting that immobilized. So I wait out the immobilize and just continue to try to apply pressure to the enemy healer here, catching him with the flesh, and it's enough to kill him without the backstab. And the second flesh through, thanks to that reduced cooldown on landing the down status with the initial hit, just to finish him off. And we've got the third flesh ready right away as well. Go for the burnout into this guy, the flesh right away. Excellent pressure on that enemy sword and board hatchet player, and he heals up right away. I'm not able to stick out the combo. There comes the explosion from the NPC. I waste my stamina to make sure I don't get hit by that knockback there, and managed to just buy myself a little bit of distance with that roll too. The enemy player is actually backing out the other direction from the explosion as well, and then I just do my best to continue to apply pressure. A lot of melee fighters here, so because I'm playing such a fast and mobile build, I can actually take melee fighters in this kind of open field position. If they had a lot of ranged fighters, this would be a lot more difficult, but thanks to the tight matchup here, I can kind of tank out this spot and do my best to try to apply pressure to these guys, and I catch a nice AoE with the Firestaff there. Try to go for the flesh through. Unfortunately, I get caught by the hammer player from behind. The ice shower comes down as well, and I have the riposte ready for inside the ice shower, allowing me to just kind of tank out that ice shower with the counter stun. And then I go for the burnout through the group, taking a lot of pressure now as a few more players start to show up. And I'm not going to be able to sit in such an open position now that they've got the Firestaff ice gauntlets behind me as well. So I decide to just kite back around the edge of this keep, noticing again that the terrain here is not super ideal. Probably best to stay inside of this structure better than anything if you're by yourself. Even though there are a lot of NPCs, it just buys you a lot more terrain and safety than being out in the open like this. There you see, I actually catch the riposte, from the healer's projectile from behind there. Managed to land the stun on those guys. And again, just kind of kiting my way out from the melee players here. We do have the Fire Staff player on me there too. He goes for his burnout. I managed to roll away from it, go for my burnout, back through the group again, doing my best just to dot up and put some coverage into this enemy group. And there comes the Hatchet player with the gap close. He gets good damage on me. I quickly go for a target shift onto the Fire Staff player. Pretty decent flesh into the backstab, but he heals up right away, and I'm not able to really put any kind of offensive pressure past that into that player. Go for the burnout into the enemy Fire Staff player here, and he was a little bit isolated from the group. Two of the players actually went back inside the keep, and I've got just these two left, so I just keep throwing down the Fire Staff AoEs and wait for my opportunity to close in for that kill with the Rapier. And the enemy Fire Staff player just continuing to throw fireballs at me. There's a nice flesh behind him. He tries to go for his Pillar of Fire. I go for the roll on it, go for my burnout to stay on top of the enemy mage, throw the fireball on him as well, throw down the pillar. I connect everything on this guy. He switches to the Void Blade, and I'm just going to go for the riposte on his Void Blade, back up so I don't exchange after that riposte heavy attack, and then go for the flesh through him. Very important, especially if your opponent is low health with the Void Blade. Don't get baited into trading with them. They can heal a ton with that Void Blade, especially if you're playing a squishy spec like me, and they'll hit you pretty hard and heal a lot from it. So good call just to bring down the enemy mage player there. Unfortunately, he ends up respawning, so I just engage with the enemy Hatchet player that's still here, get a great combo on him, and he just kind of holds still at the end there. I think he wanted to type something, I'm not sure, but the burnout threw him to finish him off, and then it's just me and the Fire Staff player left, and we just kind of exchange fireballs and stuff here. I'm getting good connections, managed to catch him with his stamina down, go for the punish with the Rapier, and I go for the riposte anticipating the Fire Staff light attack there. Unfortunately, he charges up the burnout, and then he looks like he's going to be trying to escape here. I decide, okay, I'm going to let him escape. We killed him enough, so heading back in towards the keep. I know there are definitely some purple players in here that haven't been finished off or cleared out of the area yet. Here's an enemy healer up at the top. He's trying to loot the chest. I get behind him here, try to go for some attacks, unfortunately connecting with the NPCs instead of him, and then he goes for a kite around the corner here, running back up top, and we find a hammer guy right behind us here. He starts swinging with this hammer. We manage to catch a really nice riposte on that initial hit. Unfortunately, the NPC there just kind of breaking the stun on riposte with the incoming attack, so he's able to easily absorb my heavy attack combo after that. He goes for a few light attacks here. Again, I catch him with another riposte, and again, it's broken by the attacks from the NPCs. And I'm going to leave the last little bit of the fight to you guys as I say goodbye. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching this. Of course, I stream live on Twitch, so if you guys want to catch some live gameplay from me, you can find it there. Give me a follow on Twitter if you want to keep up to date with me. And of course, check out my website, pvpnewworld.com. Written guide to this build, as well as written guides for other builds, and just information on the game itself. I do the New World Top 5 fights. If you guys have an awesome fight that you want to send in to be featured on the channel, you can send that to Kristofer at pvpnewworld.com. This show is sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers. They can give you better ping to your favorite games, especially if you have a poor connection, and they're free to try for the first month. A link down below for you guys. And then last but not least, a massive thank you and shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. Without you guys, I couldn't do this job, so thank you so much for supporting the show. Thank you everybody, as always, just for tuning in and watching. Hope you all enjoyed. I hope to see you again next time, and have a great night, everyone.